So very welcome to our program. Our guest is Alex Orlovsky. It's quite well-known Italian expert in online propaganda, examining and also advertisement, because we understand that this is one of the instruments as well for the propaganda. So Alex, very welcome to our program.
Thank you very much indeed.
A lot of experience you have in all of this stuff, what's going on online. But first question will be about your latest analyzing of Kremlin propagandists on Twitter, as example.
Yeah.
Who are these people who use this letter Z as a symbol of occupational army of Russian Federation? And I wonder if they're not paid bots or not people, just icons on the web. If it's real people, what are their intentions for now?
Okay, basically we have like two, three different kind of cluster or wave of this kind of account, not only Twitter, but as well on many other social networks like Facebook and Instagram, and even on TikTok. But you know that Twitter is what journalists, they read more. It's like the real-time thermometer of what is happening in the world. We have different kind of situation that was already set up at the time of the troll factory, like from the Prigozhin, that set up in St. Petersburg the first troll factory, as we know. But at that time, they wasn't so advanced. They was using a lot of bot, like a fake account, and some sock puppets. In English, it is like a marionette, basically, where one operator was able to use 10, 20, 50 accounts. These accounts are retweeting or tweeting automatically, but if they need to enter into a conversation, a human person will enter the conversation using the account. Then sometimes they look very like automatic account, but you always have the doubt that, oh wow, now this person is answering to me. Right now, a lot of this like a manual job of people answering when the conversation become interesting, they're trying to automatize that kind of interaction using artificial intelligence. And usually the first 2-3 answer and the response from the engagement from the account are made with artificial intelligence until an operator gets in. And you can imagine that 50 people, they can control 1,000, 2,000 accounts. And because Twitter and social media, there is a lot of people in the social networks, but people that are really engaging in conversation are not so many. Then just with 2,000 accounts, you can change and move the polarization of the storytelling of what you want to tell to the people, okay? Right now, we have different entities, okay? We have like, of course, the Russian entities, but we have all the sort of like a Putin fan club around Europe that was, of course, is being grown during the years thanks to the Russian propaganda that we're having from about 20 years in Europe or in Italy, where Putin was traveling all around Europe. It was coming to Italy. It was always in television, thanks to Berlusconi, the best friends of Berlusconi. It was giving the gas to us with the Gazprom, and a lot of oligarchs and Siloviki, they come even to Italy, they bought villas. And they have a job there, you know. And then, of course, a part of the society, the people they always loved the sort of like very hard and cool man, authoritarian man. They began to love the person. I mean, the iconographic Putin, you know, the one that you can see on the meme, like riding on the horse and riding on the bear, hugging Berlusconi, like the super Putin, as we know from the propaganda. And of course, some people believe in him, you know, like pro-Russian parties, all around Europe, especially in Italy, just celebrating and glorifying Putin as like a great politician of this century. And of course, then some of these political parties or people sympathizing with some, especially with the far right in Italy, but with like an old extreme radical left that is still connected with the glory of the ex-Soviet Union. Like we have like an Italian Communist Party that is not the old Communist Party of Togliatti, for example, but we have like a new Communist Party that they glorifying what Putin says. And basically they do agree about Crimea. They do agree about the invasion of Russia towards Ukraine. And this people, in theory, they're red, they're like communists, but they go together with the same storytelling of the Italian far right, the same one. In fact, we call them a Nazi Bolshevik. It's like these people that is even denying what's happening in Bucha, for example, or Mariupol. They was spreading fake information they was getting from Telegram channel. They was feed by the Russian propaganda. Then they get all that information from this Telegram channel that have been translated in several languages, and then they even have it like in English, in Spanish, in Italian, and this is one part of the propaganda. One part is the state propaganda, and the other part is people that is being brainwashed by 20 years of Russian propaganda. They're supporting Russia right now.
Okay, if we talk about politicians, it's another case. We will talk a bit later, but I want to talk about people. Actually, all these pragmatic, rich Russians that do not connect their lives with so-called Russian world, and they buy in Italy some villas, they send to study in Italian colleges their sons and daughters. So these people are too pragmatic and they don't care about this Russian world. But all these people that were brainwashed are mostly Italians, you mean? It's ordinary people who do not even understand what means Russian world and all this occupational stuff that's going on in the country where Russian soldier with boots comes in. So they see just one part of the story. They don't connect the story about rich oligarchs that don't want to live in Russia. They spend their life in Italy, in the very rich regions, but ordinary people suffer there in Russia. So they don't have the information about this side of the story. It's closed. Because you are a free country, you have alternative information, or people just don't bother to look for the alternatives.
The problem is that the information is biased. If someone has the idea of, all these kind of people, tell you one thing, we analyze this kind of accounts, we analyze these people. Most of these people, they are like Novaks. They don't believe in the vaccine. They believe in the UFO. I'm not joking. These people is like sort of like not illiterate, because some of them they even went to school, but they believe to everything that is based on the complot theory. And then everything that is based on the complot theory, they was believing that Ukraine had laboratories to make like COVID, to make like chemical arms and stuff like that. If people that is always around the same bubble, is a bubble filter, and that this bubble filter has been like inflated by the Russian propaganda and extreme far-right propaganda. That the funny thing, these people of far-right, that usually if you go on their profile, you can see pictures of Benito Mussolini or pictures of even Adolf Hitler. They call the Ukrainian Nazis. That these people is really sometimes say, I don't believe that. To me, it's like a sort of like a nightmare. You see people with the symbol of Mussolini, and they say that it's right to denazify Ukraine because Putin is saying that. Then I think it's not a huge percentage. I think that these people that is being brainwashed in that way probably is like 5% of the Italian, but they're so active on internet because they spend all the time on internet. And the problem is that the Italian television and some TV programs that are biased more towards, I have to say, towards the Berlusconi television, for example, they prefer to talk about that kind of accounts and that kind of storytelling, and they even interview them. One of the amazing things that we see on Italian television is they call Russian propagandists during the war. We still during the war, we had still war, but at the beginning, from March, May, they call Russian propagandists in television to talk and to be interviewed.
Oh, really?
And there was no counterpart from Ukraine or other people. I went to television quite often. There is now an Ukrainian journalist that speaks Italian perfectly, that is Vladislav Maestruk. And I was sometimes with him in TV, but we was me, him, against 4 Russian propagandists. I mean, the proportion was always like more pro-Russian against few people I'm not defending Ukraine, but I'm defending the democracy. I mean, if we don't defend the Ukrainian democracy, that means that we will be not able to defend any other democracy in Europe. Then of course we have to stand with Ukraine. I think it's quite normal for every like a normal thinking person. I mean, to
look, it's very interesting because we are talking now about free European successful country that should follow all the democratic rules, and one of them are free of press, and it means that you have to have a lot of opinions during, and we have to have this balance during the conversation. And so your example shows that there's no balance right now on your television. So I'm sorry if I'm asking you, do you have a free press, a free media that shows both sides of the story?
Okay, we have some channels, of course, but I don't know. Probably, I think that maybe it's for the clickbait, what we call like the clickbait. Maybe it's for the audience, because usually the people, the pro-Russian people, they have a tone of voice, a tone of storytelling that is more extremist, is more radicalist, that maybe can be more entertaining for the television, instead of someone that is peaceful and you want to make like a logical path, trying to understand what really happened in this war. And then, of course, probably people like me or some other analysts, we are more boring for the television kind of TV programs, you know. Instead, the other one, probably they're more funny. They're more interesting because they shout, you know, they say things that are totally out of the world, and then probably they can catch more attention of the audience than a moderate person.
I see. But let's talk about the danger, because if we talk about entertainment, it can be entertainment till a certain point when people start to do something after seeing something. And talking about online media and online examples that you already told me about, are these people who are hiding behind the icons or avatars very brave online? We know that mostly these people are not as brave offline in real life. So how it is dangerous, all these publics, all these people who are hiding under the Z letter and
Okay. But basically, when I analyze all the people using the Z symbol, that actually in Germany is forbidden, it's considered like the Nazi symbol, the same. Most of them, before that campaign, before the invasion of Ukraine, they was no-vax propagandists. They was against the government, and they was against the vaccine, and always, I would say 70% of them far right, then like I would say neo-Nazis and neo-fascists, and 30% like what I call Nazi Bosch, that is like extremist far left, still linked with the old Soviet Union. They still want to have the Soviet Union back. But the funny thing, they are Italian. They never used to live in the stands of the Soviet Union, you know?
Absolutely, yeah.
And that is funny that they're talking about something that they don't know. And the thing is, they're very, very, very active. And from my point of view, for what I heard as well, these people, they received from the 2004, they received funding from entities. What do you mean with entities? The Russian propaganda at the time was connected like ultra-Catholic propaganda. And they use, for example, with the Russian institution of culture in Italy and some other institution like that, there was like a state run, basically running by the Russian state and financed by the embassy. They used to give money to anybody that was talking well about the Russian culture. They can be from cinema, from books, anything that was about Russian culture, financing them through not directly from the Kremlin or directly from the Russian embassy, but through different entities like an association that was called Italian-Russian Friendship, or the Friends of Lombardia, that is a region, Lombardy is a friend of Russia. And all this little association, you never see like a huge $1 million, $5 million coming from Russia to Italy. But you see money going to the Institute of Culture of Russia, Institute of Friendship between Italy and Russian people, and they get 50,000, 100,000 after they give a bit of money to these little cells.
Do you think that the situation changed after the 24th of February, and now it's not the questions just about the attitude between two countries, Italy and Ukraine, Italy and Russia, it's an attitude towards the dangers for the whole European Union, I mean to the whole continent, because a lot of countries now understood during all this year that it might be quite risky for their security. So what about Italy? Do they understand? Do your country understand these risks?
I'm answering now. Yes, Italy understood that, but it was too late. They understood it at the moment that they caught some spy, a Russian spy. They even changed the name and the passport in Italy. There's like a famous case of a spy that was spying an NATO people working in Naples, happened like in the spring of this year here in Italy. And now they're trying to do something, but I think it's too late. It's very difficult to, at the moment, to stop such a huge machine that began to work like many years ago. Then soon we already have like some people, some journalists that polarized toward Russia, and probably we need the only way to fix that, I'll tell you one thing, it will be to make Ukraine winning the war, kick the Russian out of Crimea as well, and probably after 5 years or 10 years, finally, these people will understand they was making a mistake supporting Russia.
I see. But, you know, I remember not long ago we heard a bright and strong speech of Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni in the parliament, and where she put all the dots and specified all of her position, how the country and parliament should accept what's going on in Ukraine. And it should be not just in the middle, it should be white or black, you know? So as something changed after this speech?
Yes, something changed a lot because Giorgia Meloni, now she's prime minister. And of course, Giorgia Meloni, she always received more support from the far-right, American far-right. Matteo Salvini was receiving support from Russia, from some Russian parties. Instead, Giorgia Meloni was more towards the United States. As soon the war and the invasion began, and Giorgia Meloni won the election, she changed drastically. I mean, before she was pro-Russian, from one day to the other, she became, we have to give more weapons to Ukraine, we have to help Ukraine.
People change after the 24th of February. Maybe this is the reason why.
No, she changed because she had to change because we are in the NATO, and she had really a lot of pressure from her partner in the United States. She was going to the United States very often, and I suppose some of the financing of the party comes from donors, Italian donors that are living in the United States. And of course, they are against Putin. And yeah, she changed very, very, very quickly. But a big part, I would say the totally part of pro-Russian people following Giorgia Meloni on social networks, they was tagging her and telling her she was a traitor. And basically, she was a big traitor because 1 year before, she was supporting Putin. And after she changed, after she became the prime minister.
Talking about globally what's going on now in European Union, one more quote of Giorgia Meloni, that real problem of modern Europe, as she now beginning to realize, is precisely the lack of strategic autonomy. The same talks we hear from Emmanuel Macron. So do you see the unity in the European Union right now, or countries realize that their security are more in their hands, like we understood in the morning of 24th of February?
From my point of view, I believe that you have to stay united, very united. We need to have like a common army, because the only way to, first of all, save money in the budget and to have like a high quality and high technology weapons to defend Europe and the allies of Europe is to have like a common army. Italy is not powerful enough in some kind of weapons, or we are good probably in controlling our coast. We are good in some other kind of actions, but we need to stay all together because Europe is huge. And what it concerns me more is a lack of a central intelligence in Europe. We have too many intelligence, okay, that they don't talk between them. Like the German intelligence doesn't talk with the Italian one or the Spanish one. Everybody works in his own way. And in a country, then you can go from Italy to Spain in 4 hours, 5 hours. Yeah. Then if we can travel so quickly, so fast, we can go through Switzerland. You can buy a machine gun. That there, it's easy to buy a machine gun. And after you can go to Germany without being stopped and kill someone. Then, of course, the intelligence and the police, they have to work all together. And we need like a European intelligence. And as well, what we're missing is a good cybersecurity, a cyber army. Like Mikhailo Fedorov, he made like a great job with the digital army, that he gathered a lot of hackers and a lot of people all around the world. But the European countries, we don't have a real offensive digital army. With some hackers attacks Italian infrastructure, now we have just a new agency that tried to defend it, but we are totally without any defense, basically Europe, from a cyber attack. And we don't have any offensive side of the army that can attack back and block some server in Russia, in China, in Iran, whatever is based, because there's one of the problems with the cyber war is that basically you never know where it's coming from. But in the last month, we saw that this kind of technique to spread the attack from different points of the world, from different computers, is changing. Now you can really see the flux of data going from Russia towards Ukraine, towards Italy. Then you know that in that country, they're using computers to block some public services in Italy or to try to hack banks or even the webpage of the Italian army. And then this is what we are missing in Italy, so in Europe. We're missing a real European intelligence and a European army.
Yeah, actually, about cyber security, it's a mutual problem. I think it's the time to gather all together and try to do something actually together, because it's a huge problem. It's not only for European countries, because Russia has been creating all these instruments during years, and now we are at the same problem together. But
imagine one thing: we don't have just Russia. The strongest countries are Russia, Iran, China, Vietnam. Vietnam, that nobody talk about Vietnam, is one of the strongest. They're like the Communist Party. They're basically the little cousin of the cyber army and troll army in Russia. They work a lot with the Russians. Some of the account of Italian journalists has been hacked in Ukraine, because when a journalist gets hacked on his account and is using his blog, not all the journalists, they go to television or they work for big medias, some of the best ones, look at like people of Bellingcat, they're very strong, like Medusa, they're very strong on internet. And then if you are able to act all the services, the web pages, the social media account of Medusa, basically you're stopping the freedom of speech.
It's interesting how actually it happens that the countries that now allies of Russia, you name them, it's not the countries that are leaders in informational, technical, some stuff that they are created, and the European countries and Western worlds that created a lot of these stuffs, they appeared in the situation what you're saying about right now. So we don't know what to do and how to cope all this cyber attacks of Russia, and Iran, Vietnam, and other countries. How it happened?
Yeah, but it's very simple. How it's happened? It happened because Russia, Iran, and Vietnam, for example, they defend and they give immunities to the hackers. If I'm an hacker and I'm hacking a bank and stealing like millions of dollars, and I give half of this money to some Siloviki, of course I'm not going to get arrested in Russia. And the same happened in Vietnam. If you help the Vietnamese cyber army, if you are an hacker, you can keep going stealing bank account, PayPal account, you can get rich and nobody is going to arrest you. Even if Interpol asks to arrest that person, he's not going to be arrested. All the most famous Russian hackers, they are still in Russia and nobody will arrest them because they are helpful for the Russian hybrid wars. Then the difference is some people are developers and good engineers, and some other are just cyber criminals. And of course, if you're a very good developer, you can earn like $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 per month. But if you're a cyber criminal, you can earn like $500,000 per month. After the first attack, you can buy a Lamborghini. All of them, they have like a Lamborghini car. And there are like pictures everywhere. You can see them, you can find them.
If we talk about Italy and legal level, but what your government field, legal security services can do with this information? Why this letter Z is still not prohibited or banned in Italy?
Okay, something happened. Basically, after my article, suddenly, I don't know why, probably someone get my article and went in deep, and the Italian intelligence released a report about more or less the same topic that I was talking in the article. Then I don't want to say that they use my article, but my article has been like a trigger for the Italian intelligence to go on deep in that field. And a big scandal happened in Italy. A lot of politicians, they said the Italian intelligence was basically making like a prescription list of people that was pro-Russian. And instead, my article, and actually the article, the release of the press, of the intelligence was saying the same things. Nobody was saying they pay by Russians, but they were saying, what you're telling to the people, the way of your storytelling, what you're posting every day on your social media is basically gathering a lot of pro-Russian users, pro-Russian people. Because if you deny what's happening in Bucha was amazing. They was telling it was all fake, made on Photoshop, And of course, there's people that say, yeah, Putin is not so bad. The Russian soldier, it's impossible, the Russian soldier is so violent. And they was believing that kind of propaganda. And my article is simply explaining why all these people changed from Novax or far-right to the Z symbol, and they was following some kind of journalists and some names, some politician. I had a lot of problem about that. I received a lot of a death of threats, but I'm getting used to it, a lot of time they said to me, very bad things, you should die, or we're coming to your home. Every time you attack Russia, don't worry, you receive between 10 to 50 threats of death every day. But anyway, that it works, because now all the people with the Z, they get rid of the Z as a symbol because they understood. Most of the accounts have been closed by Twitter anyway, because there was very violent account spreading hate speech. And some of them, they've been banned, closed, and some of them, they changed name, and instead of the Z, they just put the Russian flag, for example. But it's been quite useful just to stop a bit, to break this kind of propaganda. Not too much, but enough.
One more maybe tough question, but still I have to put it. You said that part of Italians that are brainwashed with this propaganda, they are in love with Soviet Union, but they never lived in this terrible country. I was born there. So anyways, part of these Italians maybe know about Second World War just from books and from cinemas, not from their own life. So my question is, this Z letter is half of swastika, and it was told about many experts from different countries. So if it's part of the swastika, it means it's a symbol of Nazism and fascism. So what's the ground of followers of Nazism and fascism in the modern Italy? Who are these people and what their intentions?
People is unfortunately, in the last 10, 15 years, we saw a growth of extremists and hate speech in on internet, and they come from different. Most of them they come from they're like simply workers, people going to factories to work. It's not like usually that kind of people. They should be like more open and more tolerant, and instead I think for different reasons, due as well by the loss of some values and the loss of some guarantees. Imagine like in the 60s in Italy, you was going to work in a factory and you was staying there for 35 years working there without changing job. Now society changed a lot. And now it's very normal to stay in one company for like 3 years and change because you're looking for like a better position as well. And some of these people that probably, I don't want to say they're illiterate, but they have like a very old way to think how to live in the society. Most of them are I would say, quite homophobic, and they are against anything that is different. I mean, they are like nationalists, I would say, because, for example, it's funny, when they see the immigrants coming to Italy from Africa, they are now I'm gonna lose my job. How can you lose your job with someone that comes from Africa that doesn't speak Italian, he didn't study anything of electronic or electromechanic? How can you lose your job? You're not gonna lose your job. These people, they go to work like in the field getting the tomatoes that nobody wants to do the job anymore. That you're not gonna lose your job. But anyway, usually they're like racist, they're homophobic, and they're like over 35, 40 years old. And the problem is that in theory, the new generation, the youngster, in theory, they're more open-minded. They don't have this barrier of nationalities because they speak many languages. But the far right worked really well in the propaganda with the youngster. And they worked especially, like, for example, in countries like Scandinavia, Russia, they become doing propaganda pro-Russia inside the groups of like heavy metal, black metal, all this kind of music underground. There was a lot of thread and post about Russia, Putin, all this kind of stuff. And that's happened in Italy as well, where the far right has been very strong in gathering youngsters with the rock, like indie rock groups, small concert where it was giving like a beer for very low price, and you was listening like this sort of rock music that is a very pro-nationalist, Italian nationalist and pro-fascist, and basically trying to brainwash youngsters in this way. Then every time there is a riot in Italy against the police or like pro-Russian or something against the government, you always see the same groups. Sometimes it's funny because you see the far-right youngster together with the far-left pro-Soviet Union guys. But if you put all them together, they're like probably 5,000, 10,000 people. But on the internet, there looks like 2 million people.
But the more we talk about Russian propaganda, don't you see that the worlds created by George Orwell in his books becoming more and more real life, or it affects only just Russia and Russian people, and we are not in this situation yet, and still we have instruments and power to overcome it and stop it?
Yeah, okay, the thing about George Orwell is funny because George Orwell, he used to be in the army in Burma, and he created like a dystopian world at this time because he was seeing what was going to happen in Russia, in the Soviet Union. He had experience, a personal experience of the Soviet Union and the Nazi German. And he was in Burma. The Burma, at that time, it was really controlled by government and everything. That what he created is just a dystopian world based on the information of the mass control by the authoritarian government at the time, after the Second World War. And I think the Orwellian prophecy, it was perfect at the time, especially because Russia and other authoritarian countries, they was controlling all the state television, the press and everything. Remember that Russia was putting like antennas on the border with other countries to interfere with the Western radio. And at the time with the internet, when the internet liberalized some of the communication, we have to remember that the first internet communication during the Yeltsin regime, when Yeltsin was president of Russia, and it was between the Russian universities and the Finnish university. They had like basically a telephonic phone connection with the modem connected. And then some of the news, when the tanks went to the Kremlin with Yeltsin, all these news, they came through a computer from some people at the university. When Putin became president, he understood that internet, it was going to be one of the big problems for Russia because there was no control, and they set up a system they call SORM, SORM. Now number 3. Is the third generation that is made by Nokia, actually. Basically, in every server of internet companies in Russia, they're giving the service with ADSL or fiber optic, there is this box where the FSB and the GRU, they can control the communication. And they can even close YouTube, they can close Instagram if they want. This is what they don't. Then basically people like Snowden that lives in Russia, every time he's tweeting or he's doing something with his phone, is anyway the data package or the data is controlled by the Kremlin. It's not as strong as China, but the control on internet in Russia is very, 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 very powerful. Then now we are getting back on a controlled society in some countries, like Russia, China, North Korea have internet, but it's just closed inside the country, and Iran, they close their own internet. And then basically, yes, but I think that at the time, Orwell, it was more concerned about an authoritarian control of the mass media, like the television. That's why he's always putting these pictures on the TV, and of course with his imagination went that the TV had like a camera and a microphone. But remember that at the time of the Stasi, of the DDR, when the one side of the German was communist, Stasi, they had one of the head of the Stasi was a guy called Putin, Vladimir Putin. He was one of the agents of the Stasi, and there was wiring microphone inside all the new buildings. That if they was constructing a new building for people with new flats, new apartment, inside the plugs, they always had the cable to put the microphone. And on the top of the building, the last floor, they had all the cable coming. Then if an agent from Stasi wanted to listen to something in an apartment, had just to get into the apartment, put the microphone inside the plugs, and the cable that was all already wired, and it was going like on the top of the building, and they had like the little dashboard with everything to listen to the people. And that was at the time of the Stasi, from the 48 to until the wall went down.
The end of our conversation, I want to ask you about this symbol Z. It's so symbolic that this letter is the last one in Latin alphabet. So how do you think, from all this love to all symbolic, can it become the end of Russia in this creation that we see right now? This letter and all that this letter brings to the world right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is a good prophecy. I see that we're going towards the ending of Russia as we know now. We have to think that he built a sort of like society that it looks, to me, remember a bit like the Italian mafia, you know, with the boss and all the little families. And the little families are the Silovikis, and the only thing that the king can destroy the Silovikis, one are the daughters and the son of the same Silovikis. They born and grew outside of Russia, and actually they don't agree what the father are doing in Russia right now. They cannot talk, but I know that this new generation, all the families, the son of the Silovikis, most of them, they don't agree what they're doing. The problem is, we see the Prigozhin try to changed his status from a cook, from a chef, to Siloviki. That's why he opened the Wagner Group, to be accepted by people like Shoigu, accepted by the army people, the generals, like an hero. There was having his private army, he was going to Donbass and was winning. Now he's not winning anymore. He's not going to die in his bed. This is what we say in Italy. I don't think he's probably going to fall from a window sometime soon. And something happened to someone of the Gazprom managers. And what I'm concerned is what will happen after Putin, because I'm sure that Putin, he cannot hold this situation anymore. The resilience in Ukraine is very strong, and I think European countries, the United States, they're really helping a lot. Imagine that the weapons that Italy is giving to Ukraine is top secret. Nobody knows what we're giving to Ukraine because just we have a problem with the pro-Russian people. But anyway, it's a question of time, because of course, to use the new weapons, you need to teach the soldier how to use it, to train them, and then I think that in a few months we're going to see a big changing. After that, I don't know what's going to happen, because I don't know if the Siloviki, I know that Russia anyway is a huge country, and probably can happen that some of the federated countries, they will want a new independence. Then probably we're going to see a new downfall of the Putin Russian emperor, and that it will create problem. If Russia would be like a Pacific country, a peaceful country would be perfect, okay? But when Russia will fall down, it is a huge piece of the earth, and we have to see what China will do. Yeah. Because a lot of the Russian areas, in the most remote areas, most of the population is Chinese. Then I think that for the next 20, 30 years, probably we're going to live in a strange war in the Asian area, especially in the Asian area. And all this trigger has been the stupidity and the madness of Putin that wanted to get into the war, because he was losing, I think consensus, he was losing support in the country. Then he said, okay, the only way to remain the Tsar, to remain the big emperor of Russia, is to get Ukraine back. And there was no other option, I think, no other plan about that. But everything went wrong because FSB didn't give the right report, I think, to Putin. I mean, the army was. We know that there's such a big problems in the secret service, and huge problems in the army, because everybody is lying to Putin, because everybody was stealing money from him. You know, he put a lot of money in the Russian army, and I think that 70% of the money, they went in the yachts in the Mediterranean Sea, in the beautiful villas and stuff like that.
But on the other hand, it helps us. Let them continue to lie to Putin. But anyways, thank you very much for sharing the information from inside the country. It's very interesting to get it from the first hand. And thank you for your brave work in supporting Ukraine. And we understand from our conversation that we have to do much more in the informational field to explain people of your country, of your society. What is Soviet Union? What is Bucha? What is Izum? Yes, and what is Z?
Yeah, this is what we're trying to do every day. Even, for example, if 3 months that nobody call me in television anymore, because you get banned by the pro-Russian television. But that is not a problem. You know, internet is such a great medium that it's even stronger what we can explain to the people right now.
And thank you very much.